Mr.
Olsen. I'm Jimmy Olsen. This is Jimmy.
Jimmy!
Superman went on the air, and I became Jimmy Olsen to everybody.
What do you mean?
People took to him in a way that no Jimmy Olsen before and no Jimmy Olsen since has ever been taken to.
Thanks, Superman.
I think of all the portrayals of Jimmy Olsen, in my view, Jack Larson's is the most definitive.
Jeepers, what a light.
How about you, Jim? Show him how good you are.
Oh, no, not me. I'm no Superman.
The character of Jimmy Olsen originated on radio with Bob Maxwell, who produced the first 51 season of Superman, produced the radio show.
On radio, Jimmy was an earnest, ambitious young man, and Clark and Lois were basically mentoring him.
But when Bob Maxwell came out here to shoot the shows in July of 1951, Jimmy Olsen, the character, was elevated to basically an equal member of the family.
You're no doubt Mr. Clark Kent, or perhaps Miss Lois Lane?
No, I'm not Mr. Kent, or Miss Lane either. I'm Jim Olsen, and I'm busy.
Jack was around 19 years old when he got the role of Jimmy Olsen. He had already been in a few feature films, most notably Fighter Squadron, where all Walsh's wartime adventure came out in 1949.
Jack Larson was a young, ambitious actor of the method school, the same training that brought us Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift.
When he got the role, he was already having serious talks with folks at MGM, Warner Brothers and other studios about roles. His agent said, look, they like you, you tested well for this thing, Jimmy Olsen. Take it, nobody's gonna see it. It's this new thing called television.
Well, did you get everything set for the television broadcast?
We're going to keep it simple, just an interview with Superman.
I was convinced to do it, thank God. And so I did, because I loved doing it, but nobody knew what television was. And we were the very first show which was one camera, as far as I know.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's Superman!
From its debut, The Adventures of Superman took off like a rocket. It was a total hit. I mean, it was a phenomenon. And Jack Larson is a huge part of that phenomenon.
Mr. White! Who gave you permission to barge in here like a bull?
The thing that Superman did for Jack was that it really did settle so fondly in the fans' eyes that he couldn't walk down the street without being recognized.
People started responding to me as Jimmy Olsen, and I didn't make a lot of money doing Superman show, and I took buses and subways, and suddenly, I mean, it wasn't 5 weeks, I couldn't go on the subway. I mean, everybody knew me, and I created what the police said was a public nuisance.
To some extent, that can be a lot of fun for a young actor at first. And then when it begins affecting your privacy and it begins affecting whether or not you're going to get that next role you're up for or be able to move along in your career, it certainly has a negative effect. And I think that Jack really tried to separate his Jimmy Olsen time from his Jack Larson time.
When we went back to work in '53, they wanted me to do a lot of publicity and magazine things, and I said I won't do it. I'm not doing any publicity. It's just bad for me as an actor, Jack Larson, which it was. I now know I could have done anything. I could have done all the publicity in the world. I could have anything. It wouldn't have changed anything because I became Jimmy anyway.
Got a match?
What for?
Like my cigar. Here, have one.
Jack was a good actor, but he liked to do comedy.
What are you looking at?
I think when they hired Jack Larson for Jimmy Olsen, they recognized not only his serious acting ability, but his comic timing.
Don't call me Chief!
When I first did Jimmy, the 51 season, we were shooting quickly. They didn't have a lot of time for retakes, so you had to be on your feet.
Who are these men?
Oh, they're just casual friends of mine.
Jack really had to work on the timing of his comedy because he was under the restraint of acting when you only had one take to get it right.
Excuse me.
I would do these comic bits, and they would print it, but I wouldn't be sure if it would work or not. But I'd done it. It's on film. and I'd look out to our prop men, and if it worked, Sam would always do the same thing. It was over until you go.
At your service, Chief. Sir, Mr. White.
Thank you.
It's easier to relate to Jimmy Olsen, I think, than to any other character in the series. Anybody can relate to working for a tough boss. Anybody can relate to being afraid of strange noises in the middle of the night. Most of all, who wouldn't want to be Superman's best friend?
Golly, Superman, you got here just in time.
The great thing about Jack's Jimmy Olsen is that he stands in for the kids.
Who are you, Bub?
This is the day we vacuum your rugs, every Tuesday.
This is Wednesday.
Oh, he's a slow worker.
The goofy adventures that he falls into are just the sort of thing we as kids could imagine ourselves falling into.
My favorite episode that Jack Larson appears in, and there are many, so it's very hard to choose which is the best. My favorite episode is The Haunted Lighthouse. It's from the 1951 season, the very first season. It, to me, is one of the most dramatic episodes and really gave Jack a chance to show the range of his acting ability. To this day, it brings me shivers just hearing that, "Help, I'm drowning," and seeing the expression in Jack's face and Jimmy Olsen's face while he's trying to figure that out.
The one is a serious actor. That's my favorite episode, is Jimmy the Kid.
I'm not the chump. I'm smart enough to stay on the right side of the law. Shut up. Sure, you're a chump.
And the biggest compliment I'd ever had as an actor was a fan came up and said, "Where did they get that person who looked just like you to perform the killer in Jimmy the Kid?" So he didn't know it was me.
What kind of journalism is that, Olsen?
If you don't like it, White, it's your tough luck.
So I thought, even in Superman, some acting talent paid off.
Jack and I did a thing he really was kind of hesitant about doing, the Tomb of Zaharan. Jack was to be a little servant of mine, and he had to wear the shorts, sort of bare top, and he kind of fought that for a while, but they said, it'll be quick, Jack, don't worry.
Jimmy's running around kind of stripped to the waist, and people still, they come and said, "Did you work out? You were buff."
We've only got a few minutes left. It's been nice working with you.
So that's my beefcake show, and it's nice as you get older to have been buff in a popular television show.
Olsen, you are amazing.
Chief, you're absolutely right. Sometimes I amaze myself.
Jack Larson brought energy, personality,
Who dares to create such a disturbance?
and a great sense of comic timing to the part of Jimmy Olsen. These really didn't exist before.
Is there such a big difference between Superman and me?
The Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen comic book was established primarily because of the popularity of the TV character. Now that's a testament to the power of Jack Larson's portrayal of the character.
Jimmy Olsen, you've got something up your sleeve.
No, I haven't. Look.
To this day, I know Jack is very, very proud of the work he did as Jimmy Olsen. And when you look at the roles on television, the lasting roles, you think of Superman, you think of Jimmy Olsen, you think of Lucille Ball, you think of Milton Berle, you think of a handful of people. Jack is certainly in the first 5 fingers of that hand. He's that important to us.
Thanks, baby. Ta-ta.